Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Travis Steele, Chief Architect at Red Hat. Travis, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Of course. So, the Defense Department's software modernization strategy calls for a department-wide software factory ecosystem. In fiscal 2024, DoD established a software factory ecosystem baseline, and the next step was to scale it and, I quote, make the use of that software factory ecosystem the default by mission owners. So, I wanted to get your take on it and kind of where you think the department is at with this goal. How close is it to making software factories the default?
Yeah, there's been a ton of progress. There's a lot of effort into that. I know that there's been significant agency activity around going and visiting any place that said, hey, we're doing software activities or software factory-like activities. So they tried to figure out what does that baseline look like. I want to say roughly 50 different software factories were identified across the department. And so that's a good starting point. Figuring out what the best practices are, what are the best shared tools, shared services, who's performing in a consistent manner. I think that's been a part of the challenge, right? When you try to enterprise scale something, but make sure that each of the different activities or software factories still have enough of their own ability to, not be a one size fit all, but meet the mission that they need. I think that's kind of the challenge going forward. But what we have seen for sure, right, is the department is definitely doubling down on the software modernization strategy. They're definitely pushing for the enterprise DevSecOps reference design. So those are key policy, those are key policy enablers that will, move the department as a whole forward.
So you mentioned 15 different software factories. What has scaling actually looked like across DoD? You mentioned the challenges, but maybe you could talk about what's been working well and at the same time expand on those challenges.
Yeah, so I think if you look at a couple examples, the Air Force is doing the Platform One as a software factory, right? That isn't just the Air Force utilizing that. There are a number of different agencies and mission owners that utilize the tools and services that they provide. So, you think about a code repository, and that's Repo One that they've stood up. They have from a CI/CD pipeline, Big Bang. That's very deployable across multiple different types of environments. And then they have their Iron Bank, which is where these secure software containers and applications live. So you have somewhere you have a from if you look at it holistically from an end to end, this is a great example of where mission owners, different software development activities can pull from a proven ecosystem. Navy has Black Pearl. The Army is really leading the way and emerging in growth toward their Army software factory as well. So I think what I've seen is that those three are between Platform One, Navy's Black Pearl, and the Army's software factory. They're spending a lot of time collaborating with each other so that you can have that more enterprise approach to how do we get after this.
And just a very quick follow-up, you mentioned that you've seen the Defense Department really doubling down on the software modernization strategy. I wonder what that's looked like over the past year.
So understanding that the ultimate goal is to get rapid capabilities to the warfighter faster, right? The way they're implementing this is from a policy and guidance perspective, but then trickle that down to how do we move to a software-defined capability? Modern warfare demands that we think of a software-first approach instead of a, how do I deploy very large systems. How long does that take? How does it work with legacy integration? But rather, if we take a software-defined approach first, then I can start building in things like automation. I can start pulling for or pulling from trusted code repositories. That allows them to deliver faster with more repeatable processes and kind of get that capability to the warfighter at the time of need.
And going back to the factories, what are the first building blocks? Could you talk about kind of these foundational elements that agencies need to get right first? What have you seen work well?
Yeah, we're in this era where the trusted software supply chain really matters. And so, several years back, that answer might have been just simply, hey, make sure that you have a GitOps style of capability, right? Where you're centralizing templates, you're centralizing code repositories, and you're pulling and working from that same sheet of music. Today, that's not enough because we really have to make sure that that supply chain is secure. So it's really important that you have those in place, right? Developers need a centralized dashboard and repository. Where can I pull, let's say, golden templates from, right? Approved, validated, and secure. Where do I pull code bases from? Today, we know there are reports around 70 to 90% of all modern software deployed includes open source code. So we have to know where our code comes from. So if you're starting out, that's an important element, right? That you're pulling from trusted, verified, and secure code. And then in that pipeline, you got to have the checks and balances in place, right? Every step from build to test before you deploy. So those are critical elements, and you must include SBOMs, right? You've got to be able to generate a software bill of materials, and for the trusted piece, it's really got to be that you're doing attestation for those artifacts, right? Where they're signed and you know that they're reliable and secure.
Great. And before we run out of time, I wanted to talk to you about automation. Um, Teams are being asked to do more with a lot less people. And given workforce constraints, given increased demands, how is DoD using automation and AI to offset the impact of recent workforce reductions? And where are you seeing automation make the biggest difference, kind of day to day?
So it's a great point. And there is a differentiation between how we're going to use automation and how we can use AI, right? So from a software development and an infrastructure perspective, automation is key. We want automation, and they are utilizing automation to handle those repeatable tasks, right? Things that were very often human intensive, right? Where somebody had to make a change or somebody was in the loop, but it was a repetitive task. It was something that you could build through policy, you could build through infrastructure as code. So that's where you can see that the department has really leaned in and and really has achieved economies of scale through automation. As they move toward AI, you're seeing this not only from a policy perspective, right? That, hey, the department's going to lean into AI. They want to find AI pilots. They want to find use cases for AI that can help accelerate the mission capabilities. And so now the goal is to, move even beyond, the Gen AI.mil into more mission owner specific AI capabilities. How does maintenance and the sustainment lifecycle for maintenance take, software development, the automation of that process, but infuse AI to make the routine maintenance, preventive maintenance, things like that easier, right? Less human involved, or reduce the amount of time or the number of people that it takes to accomplish those tasks. So it's an exciting time. They have to get their arms around it because it's not just, hey, let's go buy some AI and put it in the environment and expect it to deliver the results or the capabilities we need. It has to be carefully thought through, curated, and then matched to the mission needs to make sure that, again, we have secure, capable, end-to-end kind of life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Travis, before I let you go, maybe you could highlight what you're going to be watching for in the next year, and what is it that you're working on?
Sure. Right now I'm hyper focused on software-defined warfighting. It is the key, particularly at the edge. This is where we're going to make a difference. We have a lot of lessons learned from the Ukraine conflict. We understand better about where we need software to make a difference, and that's at the edge. It's at the tactical edge. And it is going to be a software-defined world for going forward. We've got to shift our priorities and our thought process to going from the cloud and the core. We have to have an edge native perspective going forward.
Excellent. Travis, thank you so much as always for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great talking to you.
My guest today has been Travis Steele, Chief Architect at Red Hat. I'm Anastasia Obis, and you're watching the DoD Modernization Exchange on Federal News Network.